battle for the soul of a nation.
We told ourselves that American democracy is guaranteed, but it's not.
A stark warning from President Biden in front of our nation's birthplace.
MAGA forces are determined to take this country backwards.
Republicans accusing the president of further dividing the country.
He has launched an assault on our democracy.
2 months out from the midterms, the rhetoric ramps up as Democrats and Republicans fight for control of our country.
What Joe Biden doesn't understand is that the soul of America is in the tens of millions of hardworking people.
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic.
Our country is at an inflection point. That's the message from President Biden tonight, just 2 months before voters head to the polls for the midterm elections.
In front of the very building where our democracy was born, the president warned of what he believes to be threats to our democracy from former President Trump and his extremist supporters.
Denver 7's Jessica Porter's here tonight with an in-depth look at the president's message and what we're hearing from the top Republican on Capitol Hill.
Well, and Shannon, in arguably his most fiery speech as president, Biden did not hold back, addressing the issue of extremists and white supremacy, calling out not all Republicans, but a specific group he refers to as MAGA Republicans, he says are a threat to our democracy.
There is no place for political violence in America, period. None, ever. MAGA forces are determined to take this country backwards to an America where there is no right to choose, no right to privacy, no right to contraception, no right to marry who you love.
President Biden called on all Americans to end the divisiveness and said voting rights and fair elections are at risk.
They look at the mob that stormed the United States Capitol on January 6th, brutally attacking law enforcement, not as insurrectionists who placed a dagger at the throat of our democracy, but they look at them as patriots, and they see their MAGA failure to stop a peaceful transfer of power after the 2020 election as preparation for the 2022 and 2024 elections.
In a pre-rebuttal speech, the highest-ranking Republican House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy called President Biden's speech divisive. McCarthy claimed Americans are worse off under Biden's policies and less safe.
The first lines out of his mouth should be to apologize for slandering tens of millions of Americans as fascists.
President Biden's speech was held in Pennsylvania, a key battleground state. The speech comes as Democrats hope to hold on to optimism ahead of the midterm elections in November after a surprise victory in Alaska last night flipped a U.S. House seat. Former President Trump is expected to headline an event in Pennsylvania in the coming days. Live in the studio, Jessica Porter, Denver 7.
And one of the themes of the president's speech tonight was the threat of political violence. Violence like we saw during the January 6th insurrection. Just today, former President Trump told a conservative radio host he is financially supporting the defendants on trial for rioting at the Capitol and said he would very seriously consider pardons for them if he runs and wins the 2024 presidential election.
We'll be looking very, very seriously at full pardons because we can't let that happen. What's happened here, and I mean full pardons with an apology to many.
And one of those defendants, a former New York City cop, was in court today and was given 10 years for his actions on January 6th. Images show Thomas Webster using a metal pole to attack a police officer trying to hold off the mob. And that sentence is the longest so far among the roughly 250 rioters who've been prosecuted.
Now, Trump's top White House lawyer will appear before a federal grand jury investigating events surrounding the insurrection and also efforts to overturn the 2020 election. Pat Cipollone and his top deputy, Patrick Philbin, both expected to appear Friday. Cipollone previously testified before the House committee investigating January 6th, and both he and Philbin have also sat for interviews with the FBI about the classified material recovered from Trump's estate. And today, the Justice Department and Trump's legal team squared off before a Florida judge over the president's request for a special master. Trump is demanding an independent attorney be allowed to review material seized from Mar-a-Lago for potential attorney-client privileged information. DOJ lawyers say a filter team has already finished such a review. The judge has not said when she'll make a ruling on this matter. Well, a longtime paramedic now suing Denver Health, claiming he endured years of discrimination, a hostile work environment, and retaliation.
Denver 7's CB Cotton spoke exclusively with Jordan Christensen, who says the harassment began when he came out as a member of the LGBTQ community.
These pages inspired Jordan Christensen.
It's a book that was written about the old Denver General Hospital. I knew that's what I wanted to do.
The heroism he saw through photos, he later tried to live out every day for nearly 9 years as a Denver Health paramedic.
That was taken from me.
This complaint filed by Christensen and his attorney alleges Christensen faced ongoing harassment and discrimination from superiors at Denver Health's paramedic division because he was gay. Christensen says most of the harassment began after he posted on social media about his identity.
I always felt nervous for my job, and I always felt like I was doing something wrong. I felt humiliated in front of my coworkers many times. It was embarrassing to be singled out.
An example, Christensen alleges Lieutenant Christopher Pattinson would mock his clothing. In late August, Pattinson was charged with stealing vials of fentanyl from the hospital. He pleaded not guilty.
Embarrassing me in front of my coworkers, such as, like, do I plan on buying my pants in a men's size anytime soon?
The court doc says another superior made disparaging comments about Christensen, saying, quote, "Oh, that's right. You wouldn't have kids." The complaint also accuses that same superior of flashing a Proud Boys white power sign during an awards ceremony for a black paramedic.
This culture of discrimination, retaliation, sexism, racism needs to stop.
In the suit, Christensen alleges when he tried to speak up, his complaints weren't kept confidential, the harassment got worse, and Denver Health failed to fix it.
It was so egregious to the extent that Mr. Christensen started waiting in his car and hiding in his car before he went into work so that he didn't have to deal with the type of harassment.
Attorney Spencer Kontnick accuses Denver Health of violating several of its own policies by turning a blind eye. The complaint also alleges Christensen was subject to repeat discipline when other paramedics received none. The suit says the mistreatment culminated with Christensen's firing on January 8, 2021, after his treatment of a patient was questioned, even though he says that treatment was performed in front of superiors.
They got to keep their jobs.
Now, Christensen has found a new career. But he says not a day goes by he doesn't think about his old one.
There is nothing that can replace taking care of someone or taking care of a loved one.
CB Cotton, Denver 7.
And we reached out to Denver Health about the complaint, and a spokesperson said they couldn't comment on pending litigation. Now, in May, a former physician filed a lawsuit against the hospital system, alleging she was pushed out for speaking out about racial discrimination. Since 2017, there have been at least 3 other lawsuits filed by former employees against Denver Health.
And this lawsuit is coming during a period of change for Denver Health. Former Lieutenant Governor of Colorado, Donna Lynn, is taking over as CEO, replacing Dr. Robin Wittenstein. Wittenstein announced earlier this year she would be retiring at the end of August. Lynn's first day with Denver Health will be later this month.
And a change is coming to the top of the Denver Police Department, too. Today, Mayor Michael Hancock introduced Division Chief Ron Thomas, his choice to replace retiring Police Chief Paul Pazin. Thomas talked about challenges facing DPD, including rising crime, longer response times, and low staffing. He also promised to improve the relationship between the department and the community.
I understand that our staffing is down. I understand that community trust is also at a low point, and I'm committed to fixing those things.
Thomas has been with DPD for more than 30 years, and Mayor Hancock says he nominated him because he is highly regarded within the department. It will be up to City Council to confirm his nomination. All right, Broncos fans, Russell Wilson's going to be riding with Broncos country for a while.
Today, the Broncos, in their big offseason edition, agreed to a 5-year, $245 million extension. The deal includes $165 million guaranteed, one of the largest guarantees in NFL history.
There's so many people to thank, but I'm just grateful just for this process. You know, I'm grateful for just everybody involved, and like I said, most important, I'm thankful for my teammates, because this is really about us and us trying to do this thing together, and I can't wait to have a lot of fun. Broncos country, let's ride.
That's right. And I hope you stick around. Denver 7 Sports Director Lionel Bienvenu will be here in a few minutes and have a lot more on Wilson's new deal coming up in sports.
And by the way, you will be able to see Russell Wilson make his Broncos debut right here on Denver 7. The Broncos square off against the Seahawks Week 1 on Monday Night Football. Kickoff is now just 11 days away.
A town without a dog park. That could soon change in Evergreen.
People here love to hike with their dogs.
As officials unveil plans for a new dog park, why some neighbors say they're not on board.
There's enormous tubs with dog poop.
Looks like more heat for the holiday weekend, but I do see a bit of a change in the 7-day.
Glimmers of hope during a bad season for the Rockies. Young players giving the team reason to look forward to the future.
And that's a wonderful run into it.